So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker today, Kyle Hoffman. Kyle founded Roofing and More in 1993 with a mission to reinvent new ways and ideas to serve their customers better, to improve the lives of their employees, and to give back to those in their community. So together with a core of experienced employees, Kyle and his daughter Marie lead a team that is focused on making the home improvement experience enjoyable for customers while realizing their mission. Kyle is also a successful speaker, coach, and author who shares his journey and experience with others in the industry through business coaching and helps with helping others to grow and make a difference in their lives. Kyle's going to get into that journey with you in a little bit more detail. So with that, I'd like to welcome Kyle Hoffman. Thanks for joining us today, Kyle.
Thanks for having me here today, Kelly. It's always an honor and a privilege to be able to share my experience and what I've been blessed and fortunate enough to learn with other people along the way. So we should be good to go with the share, Kelly. Everything up?
Yep, everything looks good. Take it away.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, glad you were able to make it today. My goal is going to be to bring tons of value for your time. Time is the biggest investment that we make in our businesses today, or in the moments that we choose to do the things that we do. So today we're going to be taking a look at what I like to call advanced business, developing your gauges. And we're going to take an in-depth look at the numbers, an in-depth look in the business, maybe an in-depth look at yourself. And I always like to say we're going to look at the truth of the business, because the numbers, if the numbers are correct, the numbers never lie. So when it comes to your dashboard, I would say what is your dashboard and what does it include? Because that's the main thing we're going to focus on today, is the dashboard. Just like you have a dashboard in your truck, in your car, in your vehicle, you need a dashboard in your business. Now, what I've found over the years is our dashboards look very different when it comes to the business. But there are certain gauges that you must have on your dashboard, and you must know what these gauges are telling you. So for an example, when I first started my business, this was my dashboard. 2 gauges, and I looked at my total revenue and how much money I was getting paid or taken from my business. Then as I grew my business, I added a few gauges to my dashboard. You know, the common ones: sales revenue, installation revenue, cash in the bank. And then I'm looking at total revenue, I'm looking at how much money I'm taking, sales, installation, cash in the bank. But after a period of time, I realized that I really needed to change my dashboard. Over the years, I've learned there's so much more that I need to be looking at and understanding so that I can grow my business. And in order for my business to grow, my dashboard and gauges that I'm looking at every day, they need to grow. But very, very important, I need to understand what they are telling me. Now, me personally, I would say as a contractor, I've learned the hard way, right? That there's so much more that I need to know and understand about my business. And that's why we call the webinar Advanced Business, because I consider this being advanced, things that most people don't know. But before I go on, I really want to put a shout out to my daughter, Marie, who runs the everyday business at Roofing and More at our company. You know, I was very blessed to have her as a daughter, but she really loved the business, came into the business, and she takes care of the day-to-day stuff so that I can do things that I like to do, such as share life with other people, because that's what I believe in doing, is sharing life with other people. And though I am considered a professional speaker, I'm also a contractor, just like many of you. And the chances are that I may have dealt with the same things and experienced the same challenges that you have. And the reason that I'm here today is, if I'm fortunate, I want to make a difference in somebody's life and in somebody's business. As I said earlier, we've been blessed with the opportunity to learn from others, and we just want to share some of the things we learned with you. Now, we all know there's a lot to running a business like ours and like yours. And we're all learning, and hopefully we'll all continue to learn as we progress forward. But one of the ways that I love to learn is to do some intentional thinking. And I like to do that by asking questions. So grab your pen, grab your paper, and take some notes, right? So how many contractors are losing money and don't even know it? How many contractors are losing money and don't even know it? Where this happens often, where you do one thing like roofing, and then maybe you decide you're going to do windows and doors, or you're going to do siding, and one area of your business is losing money and you don't even know it. How many contractors are living off of deposits? You know, we have to sell this job, we have to go get that deposit so we can make payroll. How many contractors have continuous cash flow problems? You know, they're always struggling to pay the distributor or to take a pay themselves. I've met many contractors who I didn't even pay myself. Why do so many contractors go out of business? I mean, the statistics are astronomical for contractors that start businesses to go out of business. So why do so many contractors go out of business? And I continually ask myself, and still ask myself, all these questions. How many people, families, and businesses are affected when a contractor goes out of business? Here's one. Why is one contractor successful and the other is not? What does the successful contractor know and do that the other does not? What defines a successful contractor? Why do many contractors focus on total revenue to measure their success? I'm 7 million, I'm 10 million, I'm 12 million. Well, I met a $35 million company one time. I had lunch with them and they were losing money every single day. And when you're doing 35 million a year, you lose a lot of money every single day. Why do some contractors not pay themselves enough and other contractors pay themselves too much? How do I know how much I should pay myself? On average, how many contractors are paying their distributors late for one reason or another? What should our per square price be, right? But the going rate is, you know how many contractors I've met that I ask them, how'd you come up with their price? And they say, well, my competitors are doing this. How much should we spend on advertising? How do we know how much we spend? I meet contractors that spend 1% on advertising. I meet contractors spend 15% on advertising. What's the right amount to spend? What about this one? Can we afford to give that discount? You know, the phone rings, it's the salesperson, the poll earlier, how many salespeople do you have? The more salespeople you have, the more the phone rings. Oh, boss, I know the price is $14.9, but they said they'd move forward today if we could do it for 14. Well, can you afford to give the discount? How can we tell in a moment of time, in a snapshot, if we are a financially healthy company? Is it how much money we got in the bank? Is it how much revenue we've done? Is it the sales? Is it those things that I mentioned? They really have nothing to do with knowing if you're a financially healthy company or not. There's other ways, other things we have to look at to answer that question. Here's a big one. Why does it seem like we are always in recovery mode? Anybody ever been there? Recovery mode? I had a guy tell me one time, I'd see him every year at an event, and every year he'd say to me, Kyle, you're always in recovery mode, dude. You need to do something about that. So how do you fix that? And do you spend your time acting or reacting to items pertaining to your business? Are you reacting or are you proactive? And how do you become proactive instead of reactive when you're always in recovery mode? Why didn't we know about it until now? Oh my gosh, how many of you, I'm going on my 28th year in business, and I know this year there's going to be something that pops up and I'm going to go, why didn't we know about this till now? That question continues to astonish me, right? What could we do to prevent this from happening again? Here's a simple thing in business I'll just throw out there right now. Fix the problem and then fix the problem. When something pops up, fix the problem, the immediate problem, the unhappy customer, the grass that's got the rut in it because the truck drove off the edge of the grass and left the rut. Fix the grass, but then fix the problem that caused the problem, right? Here's one. What are the top 3 things that we need to focus on and change now? The top 3 things that we need to focus on and change now. How do I decide that? And here's a big one. What needs to change about me? What needs to change about me? So about today, here's how today is going to work. First, I want to encourage your questions. You can do the chat feature. There'll be follow-up email. You'll have my information when we're done. Feel free to email me anything. We're going to share information with you today. And I don't just mean information. I want to share information with you that actually makes a difference in your business and in your life that you can implement quickly. I want to get you thinking and generate ideas. Have you ever had people tell you what your problem is or open your eyes to it and then not provide a solution for it, right? So I want to provide solutions today that will help you. And again, I want to get you thinking, and today I want to get you focused on working on your business, right? We spend lots of time working for our business, but I want you to think about working on your business. Here's a question. Out of all your time in a week, what percentage of time do you spend working for your business versus what percentage of time do you spend working on your business? Now, you showing up here today already tells me a lot about you, that you're working on your business, you're spending time. But the majority of contractors that I meet, they're so busy running around working for their business that they don't take enough time to work on their business. So I've gotten to a point at our company for roofing and more, I spend about 80 to 90% of my time working on the business and 10% of my time to 20 max working for the business. And my coach told me quite a long time ago, I want you to be instead of do. In other words, I want you to be thinking. You share the vision. There's things you need to be being instead of doing. Now, I do realize that there's a lot of people on this call and a lot of the info I'm going to share today. Some of you may already know some of this stuff. Some of you may not know this, but I want to take us to a level where I'm hoping that I can add value to anybody that's on here and share in your success. Now, a quick disclaimer, I'm not an accountant or a financial advisor. So I'm a business owner like you. I own Roofing and More Incorporated out of Northern Virginia, 28th year in business, and I've learned a lot of things, like I said, the hard way. So I want you to go back and ask you, do you remember why you wanted to start your own business? So every time I do this presentation, I think about the vision I had and the aspirations I had. And, I would come home and tell my wife for 2 years before I started my business, I'd be frustrated with my boss or whatever. And I'm like, I should just start my own business. And, I wanted to be my own boss. I was going to have lots of fun. Oh, the lifestyle was going to be unbelievable. And what we were going to do, I was going to have all kinds of freedom. I was going to make a ton of money. It was always going to be exciting. And the possibilities were endless. And I remember running downtown to get my business license, and how that felt. And we started the business and I hired my first person. And then somewhere along the way, it happens, right? It happens. Like the next thing I know, I got problems. And what were some of the problems that I encountered? Well, the first thing that happened was no more play. I gave up my hobby. And now I had financial stress. Like not only was I worried about my bills now, but now I had responsibility of payroll and other people's financial issues and, stresses of the business on me. That led to me coming home in a bad mood here and there and saying some things to my bride that I wish I wouldn't have said or did, and it caused some marriage or maybe family trouble. I'm working 100 hours a week. Man, I'm stressing out and I can't sleep at night. And the emotional and mental stress became so big after a few years that, I thought about giving up. So how do I go from that to who I am today? So I went from the original vision of all this excitement, fun, and freedom and lifestyle and all these things to this that I just shared: no play, stress, marriage problems, 100 hours a week, sleepless nights, all this stuff happening. And now I have freedom beyond anything I could ever dream or imagine. Well, let me tell you a story. When I found myself working all the time and I found things happen, we were in business about, I started my business in 1993. And I had my daughter, Marie, who had not been a part of the business, right? She was young and growing up. And then my son, Kyle Jr., was born in 1990. And so I started the business in 93. I'm going to fast forward to 2007. And in 2007, we had a horrible family tragedy. And my 17-year-old son, Kyle Jr., was in a car accident and he was killed. And you all know, if you're listening to this and you were around, you know what happened in 2008, right? The recession, the biggest recession since the Great Depression hit. And I had now been in business, 16 years. And my son dies and this recession hits. And I look back and I always thought I had a decent business. After 16 years in business, I was a hard worker, but I was this guy that was running around, spending all my time working for my business, not working on my business. When I was thinking about things, I wasn't thinking about the right things. You've probably heard the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Well, the 5 people I was hanging out with, you wouldn't have wanted to be the average of them. You know what I'm saying? And so I was inviting the wrong people in my life. I was doing the wrong things. Kyle Jr. dies. That led to bigger problems. I became depressed. I became deflated, started drinking too much to ease the pain. And I ended up in 2010 in my office crying, wondering if it was time to throw in the towel. And I ended up, that little window in my email popped up and it said, business troubles, we can help. I want you guys to write this down. Business troubles, we can help. In this little window, it was from a Certified Contractors Network, CCN. And Certified Contractors Network is a network of contractors, and they teach you how to run better business. And so I see that window pop up. I'm crying in my office, doors shut, 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'm praying, and that window pops up. So I go home and I tell my wife, I wonder if this was a message from God, and maybe I'm supposed to fly to Miami to check out this event. So I did. I ended up joining Certified Contractors Network, and I'm going to fast forward a little while. I went to one of their events and I was pretty down on myself. I was trying to figure out how to fix the mess, right? A lot of debt, a lot of problems. Let's just say I was about $500,000 upside down in 2010 when this all happened. And I met this guy and he said to me, he said, Kyle, what do you do for a living? And I said, I'm a roofer. And I put a word in there that starts with an F, and I wasn't in a good mood. And I said, I'm an effing roofer. And the guy said, look at me. And I looked at him and he said, I want you to go home, and starting tomorrow morning, I want you to look in a mirror and I want you to say, I'm a businessman that owns a construction company. I'm a businessman that owns a construction company. And then I want you to do what you need to do every day to become a businessman that owns a construction company, whatever that looks like, Kyle. So I'm just gutsy enough that I went home. I actually wrote it on a Post-it. I put it up on my mirror, and every day I would look in that mirror and tell myself, you're a businessman that owns a construction company. Now go out today, Kyle, and do what you need to do to become a businessman that owns a construction company. And that paradigm shift changed my business, and it changed my life. And I learned that all this stuff and so much more than I can share with you guys today in this short webinar but the dashboard. And I like to say it like this: if somebody put an X-ray up on an X-ray screen of lungs, and I walked in and they said, check out these lungs, Kyle, on this X-ray, and I'd look at them and I'd go, okay, they're lungs. But then somebody that knew more about reading X-rays walked in after me and they said, hey, Kyle, did you see that little spot right there? Do you see this little thing? And they point at it and they go, we need to look into that. That could be something serious. See, a businessman or businesswoman knows how to look at a business and go, we need to look at that. That could be something serious. They know how things add up in their reports. And when they look at their reports, they look at them different than a roofer does, right? Or a concrete person, or whatever it is that we do in the business of contracting. So Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. And so I want you to go to December 31st, 2021, and I want you to decide what the end looks like. What does the end of 2021 look like? What's your total revenue? What's your sales? What's your profits? What's your gross profit margins? So all kinds of things we're going to think about. But earlier I had asked a question, right? What does the successful contractor do that the other one does not? And we believe that there are things that successful contractors do. And the first thing is, Benjamin Franklin says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. See, Coach Bobby Knight has a quote, mental is to physical as 4 is to 1. What he's saying is you need to think about it 4 times more than you actually spend executing it. So in the construction business, we've developed what we call the 10 integral parts to a successful business. Number 1 is detailed business plan. We call them MapQuest directions, turn-by-turn directions. Where do you want to end up on December 31st, 2021? And what are your directions to get there? Just like a GPS, I'm sitting somewhere, I put in an address that's 1,000 miles away, and it works its way backward in seconds, less than that. To tell me turn right in 500 feet, right? And we're fooling ourselves if you don't think that's possible with your business. Now, along that journey, I could have a flat tire. We could encounter some severe weather. We could encounter a detour on that 1,000-mile journey. We can encounter those same things on the journey to December 31st, but we're going to know what to do when we encounter them. The second integral part is a leader. You can have these directions, but for me, I realized that I was my biggest problem in my business. The way I seen things, the way I thought about things, the way I dealt with things, I held myself back. But of course, it was always everybody else's fault, right? The next thing is that leader, once you learn what leadership really looks like, because there's a big difference between being a boss, an owner, a manager, and a leader, a big difference. But once you learn what a leader looks like, now that leader can build a team of people that can deliver at a high level. So ask yourself, do we have a team of the right people that can deliver at a high level? Now, in building a team, we have to know things like how to write ads that attract the right people and detract the wrong people. We have to know things on like how to read resumes. And I don't just mean the words on the resume. I'm talking about the person that walks in that sees the set of lungs on that x-ray and says, do you see that, Kyle? We want to be able to read a resume that well. We don't miss anything. Then we want to have an interview process that helps us interview and helps us find and hire the right people. Next is the vision, mission, and core values. If you knew how many contracts for years and years and years, if you would ask me what's your vision, mission, core value, I would have told you I got better things to do, man. I got better things to do. Those things aren't important. Well, let me tell you something. I realize they're not just marketing words, but they're a way of life for your business. They're a culture for your business. So the question is, do you have a culture? Do you have a vision? Do you have a mission? Do you have core values that guide your people and guide you? It helps people make decisions. The next thing is lead setting and tracking. I like to say doing more with what we already have. Everybody wants more leads, right? Oh, we see it all over Facebook, everywhere we look. Just, I'll get you more leads, I'll get you more leads. What if you did more with what you already have? What if you stopped and you just said, how could we do more with what we already have? What if we develop some processes to capitalize on them and to just do better? Next is a specific sales process. If you have 2 salespeople, 3 salespeople, 10 salespeople, 20 salespeople, and 3 of them came to my home and did a presentation, would it be the same from all 3 people? Or would it be way different from all 3 people? So we want to have a specific sales process. We want to train it so that it is delivered the same every time by a different personality, of course. We're not trying to create robots, but it's delivered the same every time. Then we have a specific approval process. This one really gets me, is many companies we meet, they find out they did a bad job after it's too late. After they started, after they completed it, they go, oh my gosh, we're going to lose money on this job. It's going to be a nightmare. That, you know, they have to do. But if you have an approval process, you'll find that you'll know ahead of time if it's a bad job. And then you can develop processes to deal with that if and when it does happen. Next is a specific sales to production process. I call it the handoff. Right in the Olympics, when you watch the relay racing, the team that wins the relay race aren't necessarily the fastest runners. They're the people that master the handoff. This is a huge problem in companies, right? Salespeople deliver this mess to the production team. They're all frustrated. People are pointing fingers, blaming each other. So you've got to have that specific handoff. Then we have the installation process, an installation manual where people are doing it the same. If you ever done 2 houses half a mile apart, they're the exact same houses. Both of them had a chimney. One got flashed one way, one got flashed another way. And one of the customers calls because they know each other. You know, they referred each other, or one referred the other. And they call and they go, how come my chimney looks different than Harry's chimney, Kyle? Well, because we don't have installation processes, right? We just have them show up and do it. Hey, it's okay, sir. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to flash a chimney, right? How's that working out for you, right? So then we have a specific close and collection process. One of the big reasons contractors go out of business is because of cash flow issues. And what we find is they aren't collecting their money. So we want to have a close and collection process. If there are punch out items, they're important. They're a priority. We get them done. We get paid. If we did the job, we need our money. So we want to define what all of this looks like and how it can work in your business. When it comes to coaching, I do not believe that one size fits all. And that's why I love the one size does not fit all model. Most contractors that I meet, they've got the vision. They got everything within them to be successful. They just need some help bringing it out of them so that they can bring it to life. And that's what my coach did for me. And that's what CCN did for me. So the dashboard, we're going to roll right into profit and loss statements. We're going to look at reviewing it and understanding it. I want you to see things in your profit and loss that you've never seen before when we get done with this little bit of time together. I want to look at break-even analysis and give you a calculation so you can quickly, in minutes, know what your break-even number is. Do you know what your break-even number is? And more importantly, does your team know what your break-even number is? And then cost per sale, right? Do you know what areas of your business are making money and which areas are losing money? We're going to look at cost per sale. So the profit and loss statement, the first thing I'm going to ask anybody is, are you running on a cash or accrual basis? Then I'm going to ask them, what are your gross profit margins? And then what are your net profits? Because let me tell you something, it's all about the numbers. You have to know and understand the numbers in your business. Why? Because the numbers tell the truth about your business. And listen, there was a time in my business when I did not want to see the truth. right? I didn't want to see the truth. But let me tell you something. I Googled images of ostriches with their head in the sand the other day, and I just sat there looking at them, and I thought about life doesn't stop just because they got their head in the sand. Their whole body is still susceptible to the dangers that are above that ground that their head's in. How many contractors got their head in the sand because they don't want to look at the truth, right? So what is the most important thing to running your business when it comes to the numbers? How do you run those numbers? How you run those numbers is critical to knowing the truth about your business. And I know a lot of owners that are very kind-hearted and emotional people. We can't make decisions based on how we feel as businessmen and women. We need to make our decisions based on fact, on science, on what we know. So when it comes to profit and loss, and I said in the beginning, some of you on here, you might see some of this and go, we already knew that. And that's fine. I'm glad you already knew that. But I want to help everybody from the beginner to the most advanced. So let's quickly look at the profit and loss statement definition. A profit and loss statement, P&L, is a financial statement that summarizes the revenues, costs, and expenses incurred during a specific period of time, during a snapshot. It's like if I jumped up in the air or asked you to jump in the air right now and took a picture of you up in the air, that picture captured a moment in time. We all know you had to come back down. So a profit and loss statement captures the financial position of a company in a period of time. Then we look at gross profit. Gross profit is the profit a company makes after deducting the costs associated with making and selling its products and or services. Gross profit can be calculated with this formula. Gross profit equals your revenue minus your cost of goods sold. So I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a second, but it's very, very important that whenever you're talking to another contractor, you are looking at things apples to apples and not apples to oranges. I get into conversations about gross profit often, and a big question I ask is that before or after sales? In other words, one company will tell me my gross profit is 33%, and I'll say, is that before or after sales? They say, what do you mean? I say, well, do you pay salespeople commission? Yes. Well, do you pay that? Are they above the line in the cost of goods sold, or are they below the line in the indirect costs? Oh, they're below the line. Well, how much do you pay them? 10%. Well, then you really have a 23% gross profit, not a 33. But then again, I could have the opposite side of scale. I'm talking to a company that tells me they have a 44% gross profit, and I say before or after sales, they say after sales, what do you pay? 10%. They're really making a 54% gross profit if they were to put the sales down below the line. So it's really, really, really important. I was at an event one time. I was outside with the smokers. I don't smoke, but I was talking to people, and I asked the guy, how much revenue do you do a year? And he popped his chest out, and he was all proud of himself. And I'm glad he was proud of himself, and he had a right to be, but he said, we did $7 million last year. And I said, holy crap, $7 million. That's a lot of money. That's really, really good. And I said, do you mind if I ask what your gross profit margin was? And he told me. And I went back to my room, and that night I was talking to my daughter about business. I told her about this conversation, and I said, we make double the gross profit that gentleman makes. So we would do $3.5 million and make the same amount of profit that guy has to do $7 million to make. Gross profit matters, and it's huge. And when you start looking at things correctly, gross profit, a point or two will go all the way to the bottom line. So here, what's your target for gross profit, right? I asked you to go to December 31st and think about where you want to be 2021. Well, we have a gross profit margin target of what percent? Now, for any of you that's seen the video that was promoting this webinar, I had told an airplane story and how I ran my business for years without gauges. Well, if there's any shooters listening to this, people like to shoot guns on the call. Imagine this. What if I invited you to a field, I dropped a pin on your phone, and I said, hey, meet me here Saturday morning, 8 a.m. We're going to do some shooting. And you're like, yeah, all right. You know, and you show up and you pull up, and there I am with my pickup truck and my tailgate down and got my guns all out, and your juices get to flowing. You're like, yeah, let's do this, right? And you get out, you bring your guns over, you set them on the tailgate, we do a little small talk, and then you go, so what are we shooting at, Kyle? And I just look out in the field and I go, we're just shooting out there. And you look at me weird and you're like, no, seriously, Kyle, what are we shooting at? And I go, we're shooting out there. It's silly, right? But how many contractors go to work every day, tell their people we're going shooting, but they don't give them a target to shoot at? You getting it? There's too many businesses, they don't give their people, their team, their salespeople, do you have a target? Do you have a sales target for the month? Do you have a close ratio target for the month? Do you have a RPA, return per appointment target for the month? Do you have an average sale target for the month? Do you have a conversion rate target for the month? But we do this and we don't give people a target. So what is your target for your gross profit? If you don't have one, develop one. Share it with your team. Then ask yourself, do you hit it consistently? And are you satisfied with it? Cost of goods sold, COGS, okay, COGS. These are the things that are commonly in a cost of goods sold in your QuickBooks or in your whatever platform you're using. We're QuickBooks, so that's what I know, that's what we use. But when the chart of accounts gets set up, the cost of goods sold are things that you would only have to spend if you did the job. In other words, if you had truck insurance up in this list, I would say, well, if you didn't do that job, would you still have to pay your truck insurance? Yes, I would. So these are things that are directly related to a job: materials, labor, warranty, registration, costs. Like I'm a GAF guy. If you're CertainTeed or Owens Corning, that's fine. But it costs money to register golden pledge warranties or silver pledge warranties. So that's up there. Then we have the workman's comp, directly related to the labor, directly related to the job. Then we have sales commissions, dump fees, and permits. Then we segue, we go from there into net profit. Now, net profit is the actual profit after working expenses, not included in the calculation of gross profit, have been paid. Often referred to as the bottom line, net profit is calculated by subtracting a company's total expenses from total revenue. I know when people get this messed up, because I belong to a couple groups on Facebook, roofers and subcontractors, and I'll be reading conversations that people have on there. And when they start throwing out numbers like they have a 38 or 40% net profit, I know something's off, right? Like contractors, if you're running a legit business and you've got above the line cost, below the line cost, and you've built a business, it's unrealistic for people to have a 35 or 40% net profit unless there's a reason why, like you have zero expenses, maybe you're a debt-free company, something like that. But the bottom line is there's parameters that you can measure. And I'm going to continue to go back to that set of lungs on the x-ray thing. You know, I can walk in, look at your business and see things that other people miss or don't see. And just so you know, it's not because like I'm all that. Somebody else could do the same thing in my business. Because here's a question: have you ever looked into a dirty fish tank? Yes, you heard me. Have you ever looked into a dirty fish tank? Most people would say yes. Then the question I would ask you is, do you think the fish know it's dirty? I think the answer to that question is probably not, because it became dirty over a period of time and they adjusted to that dirt over a period of time. So you or me walk up and go, man, that's a mess, but that fish is in there comfortable. Now, what does that have to do with business? You want to know how many times I've walked up to a business and said, man, that's a mess. And the owners have said, I'm comfortable. until I show them how dirty their fish tank has become, right? So then we have gross profit. We're going to call that direct costs above the line. We have indirect costs below the line. We have net profits is the bottom line, okay? That's how we're going to talk, above the line, below the line, and the bottom line. Now, when you have indirect costs, those things are going to include office salaries, computer expenses, your phone, cell phone service, internet, security, all those things are your below the line costs. So you have your direct costs, your below the line costs, indirect costs, and then your bottom line. So how do you enter your data into QuickBooks, right? What is the difference and how can this affect you in your decision making? Let me tell you something. It's huge whether you run your business on a cash, accrual, or percentage of completion basis. And I'm going to give you some examples right here. So this is a real snapshot of a company. This was a real-time snapshot on November 15th, and we took this in a cash basis of their company. Now you'll see it showed their total income was 238, 275, 10. You can see their workman's comp and the numbers, but look over at the percentages. The percentage of material, 11.05, the percentage of salaries, wages, roofing, warranty, and you look at their gross profit, 62.71%. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, wow, high five, let's go out to dinner. Ruth, Chris, you know, the guy that owns this company or the lady that owns this company is buying, right? Because they made $85,217.33 in a month. Well, that's what it looks like. Let's look at the same company, same month in accrual basis. Now their income changed because accrual basis is from the 1st to the 31st. Cash counts deposits. It counts any check you paid. It doesn't count invoices that you haven't entered. A cash basis, we use that to pay our taxes, but I definitely do not recommend running your business on a cash basis because once again, if I go back a slide, I'm going to go, like I'm exaggerating, but I'm going to go out and buy a Corvette if I think I'm making this kind of money. But the reality of it is, this is the real money that you're making. Not so bad, not so bad, but this is a true picture of that business, right? So look at the material, 26.53. So I'm going to go ahead and click forward and hit on this percentage of completion basis, which a lot of people aren't really aware of. The percentage of completion basis is where you literally want to get so detailed with running the numbers and the gauges of your business that if you did a $20,000 job and 2 days of it were going to be in January, the last 2 days of January, and 2 days of it were going to be the first 2 days of February, you take that 20 grand and you split it. And you put 10 grand of it in January's income, you put 10 grand of it in February's, you also take all the expenses and you split them 50-50. That same job, let's say you got a $30,000 job and 1 day of it was going to be in January and 2 days of it, I'm assuming it's a 3-day job just to get my point across here, ladies and gentlemen, but 1 day's in January, the 2 days are in February. Now you do 10,000 of that income and a third of the expenses in January, and then the other 2/3 would go into February. Now, I'm going to throw away the cash basis because I'm not recommending anybody run their business on a cash basis if they want to know the truth about their business, the truth about the x-ray of those set of lungs, how healthy are we. You're going to want to do either an accrual basis or if you want to get crazy detailed percentage of completion basis. Now, if you look at the difference here, you can see side by side, same company, but one way accrual basis versus percentage of completion basis. On the accrual basis, they made 28, 240, 45, 12.9% net profit. In my opinion, that's a decent net profit. That, of course, that's after the owner's pay and things like that. And then on the other side, the percentage of completion, it's more accurate. So we're getting a true picture. Now, there's something very, very important that I want to share with you that I want to make sure everybody on this call hears this and knows this. When you run your business on an accrual basis and you're looking at these reports normally don't include your truck payments or your distributions. So if you're taking distributions, let's say you got to pay, like at my company, I've got a salary that I get paid, consistently on the 1st and the 15th of every month, I get paid. It's automatically deposited in my account. But then I take distributions 2-3 times a year. So those distributions do not show up on your P&L. So I'm going to give you an example. In this, let's use the percentage of completion basis for the net income. It shows 39,000. Well, if I had 10,000 worth of truck payments, that's not going to show on here. So now I really only made 29,000. Okay. And then if I took a $20,000 distribution that month, I really made 9,000. Okay. I know I'm cramming a lot into this little bit of time, but you can feel free to email or ask questions. But the point is that how you run your business, what your gauges are telling you, understanding this stuff will tell you the truth about your business and where your needle is, and whether you're heading in a good direction or whether you're heading in a bad direction or whether you're just sitting still. So any questions, feel free to message them, and you'll be helping me out with that. Is that correct, Kelly?
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that.
All right. Do you want me to keep on trucking?
Yeah, I think let's keep on rocking through.
All right. So the next thing is a quote from Winston Churchill: "Let our advanced worrying become our advanced thinking and planning." I mentioned earlier that I'd be up in the middle of the night, I'd be worrying. And one of the things that helped me with this was knowing and understanding my break-even analysis and how do you calculate this quickly and easily. And I'm going to give you the formula, and it's going to be so much easier than you probably think it's going to be. And one of the things I like to do is I like to take the complex and make it simple, because our businesses are complex. They really are. But I want to take that complex and make it as simple as possible. So all you do is list the cost of the items you pay for, even if you didn't do a job. Things like this: salaries, right? Or hourly, the office admin, manager, sales, owner salaries or pay, your truck insurance, computer expense, marketing, fuel, auto repairs, payroll, taxes, health insurance, umbrella insurance, office supplies, office cleaning, lease, mortgage, utilities, phones, internet, security system, printers, ink, postage, dues and subscriptions, all that stuff, and add it up. And let's just say that that equaled $89,000 a month, or $81,000. You take that 81,000 and divide it by your gross profit percentage. Now I'm going to show you the power in gross profit. I'm going to show you the power. Let's say that it costs the company 81,000. Okay, that they add all that stuff up and it comes 81,000. If their gross profit percentage is 30, then they have to do 270,000 to break even that month. If their gross profit is 40, they do 202,500 to break even that month. If it's 42, they do 192,857. If they have a gross profit of 45%, they only have to do 180,000. Remember I told the story about $7 million company and we would have only had to do 3.5 million to make the same amount? This is the power in the gross profit, and really believing in gross profit and understanding. Now the question becomes, how do we make our gross profit better? How do we improve that number? How do we raise that number from a 30 to a 32 to a 33 to a 35? And the answer is we do that over time. So if you have any questions about the break-even analysis, feel free to send those in. The next thing I'm going to look at in the dashboard is there's a spelling error on me, Kelly, right there. Look at that, I caught it. Spell check on this thing didn't work so good. But the cost per sale, and do I know and focus on this number, and how can this info help me? Am I losing money and don't even know it? So important. And what I want to point out is in a marketing plan, we have a lead cost, we have the value of a lead, and we have a cost per sale. And there's a big difference between a marketing strategy and a marketing plan, because the plan is all about the leads. So do you know your lead cost? Do you know your lead cost per lead source? It's all tied into knowing your numbers and doing more with what you already have. So cost per sale, you take your total all-in marketing dollars and divide it by the total number of jobs sold. So I spent $100,000 in marketing and I did 100 jobs, so it's $1,000 per job. If my average job is $10,000, then my cost per sale would be $1,000, 10% of the job. Well, that I would look at you and go, well, what did you factor into your marketing budget? Because if your marketing budget was only 5%, then it's costing you double what you planned on it costing you. Remember those MapQuest directions? Well, you can also make a wrong turn and not end up at your destination. So you have to know what to look at and how to compare this to that to help you avoid making that wrong turn. In a GPS, it's going to tell us, you know, recalibrate, right? That's what it's going to do. So we have to know how to do that. So this is an example of a spreadsheet we created and use for the lead sources. Your CRM could do this, but the leads were 343 at the top row there. Leads set were 333. You can work your way across it. The sales we made, the average sale, the advertising budget, and the cost per lead set, cost per lead ran, and cost per sale. And then down at the bottom, it totals everything up. So we can look at these reports per lead source, and that will help us determine what lead sources are producing well versus which ones aren't. What do I need to adjust? What do I need to focus on? All right, cost per sale, why this is important. Why are some companies losing money and don't even know it? I don't know if you do repairs, but some companies I meet do repairs, and we do repairs at Roofing and More. But I'm going to lay this out for you. I sold a repair. We're replacing a pipe collar. It's $350, boss. This is exciting news. Well, if we look at the material needed to do a repair, it's a bundle of shingles, a pipe collar, a tube of caulk. I'm keeping it simple here, guys. Add some ice and water guard. So our total labor cost is $50. So our total cost of material and labor is $92. Now, the total profit on that's $258, right? Now, we haven't taken into consideration workman's comp or any of this stuff, but a lot of people would look at that and go, man, I'm doing really, really good, aren't I? I'm doing really good, aren't I? But here's the reality of it. The real number is, if you go back and look at the marketing, it costed me $394 just to get the lead, okay? Just to get the lead, it costed me $394. Meaning, if you do your marketing well and you're measuring these things and you're looking at that dashboard of all these gauges, you'll realize this is true. Your numbers are going to be different than this, but this is true. So I made $258, but it really costed me $394 for the sale. So in reality, I only lost $136. I only lost $136. So our company does $1 million in repairs with an average ticket of $2,000 on repairs. If this was a real company, that's 500 repairs a year at a loss of only $136 per repair, they'd only lose $68,000 and wouldn't even realize that they're losing money. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, I've been at events before and somebody will raise their hand, how do you sell repairs for $2,000? That's a whole different webinar. That's a whole different conversation. There's a lot to it, and the answer isn't taking advantage of anyone. It's offering options and making sure that you offer those options. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I want to mention the coaching company real quick, Kyle Hoffman LLC. Find us on Facebook. and follow us. We offer free biz tips, in-depth business tips. We have Kyle's Coaching Toolbox videos, Contractors Advantage Online Academy, and I do offer some one-on-one coaching and other coaching opportunities. If you want to email us, just email info@kylehoffmanllc.com. But whatever you do, whether you check into CCN, whether you email me, whether you don't email me, do what you need to do to change your business and change your life. And remember that Dwight Eisenhower said, plans are nothing, but planning is everything. And Henry Ford, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. You're right. And before I wrap up, I just want to give a shout out to Leap. And not because they invited me here or because Kelly's nice or my representative's nice, but because Leap gives an opportunity for us contractors to take our business to another level. You know, I did a talk earlier today about how you motivate your team members. And I named some simple ways to motivate your team members. And one of them was make their job as easy as possible, right? Give them tools to make their job faster, easier, more efficient, more effective. And Leap does that for our company at Roofing and More. So I wanted to give a shout out to Leap, not just for inviting me here today and for putting on this webinar for you, and hopefully you found value in your time, but I want to thank Leap for helping me be more successful in our business and my team more successful and being motivated at Roofing and More. So thank you, Leap, and thank you, Kelly.
Thanks, Kyle. That was very nice. I definitely appreciate that shout out there. I know we're at the top of the hour here. We do have a couple of questions that have come in here, and I'd like to try to get to that. I'm going to just really quickly take the presenter back over to my screen here. Make sure that's showing okay. Okay, looks like that should be showing up okay. Before we jump into the Q&A and to the winner of the Apple AirPods, thanks again, Kyle, for that great plug for us. I would love to set up some time to tell people a little bit more about what Leap is and how we can help streamline some things in your business. So and in exchange for a little bit of time, we love to send you some lunch on us. So there's a poll question that's popped up on your screen there. This is just a kind of a casual conversation with one of our consultants. We talk with reps or businesses around the country on a daily basis. So kind of going back to Kyle's, the dirty fishbowl analogy, this kind of gives you that outside perspective looking in. So talk through a little bit about, what you see is working or not working in your business, and can hopefully provide some insights and things that you might not have thought of. So whether or not you are interested in using Leap, I think it's a really beneficial conversation to have and get kind of some additional insights and perspectives on what's going on in your business. So highly encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity if you're interested. So with that, I will go ahead and let me pull up our winner of the Apple AirPods.
I'm hoping
here. Okay.
I'm hoping
we have a all right. Looks like our winner today is David Mueller. David, congratulations. Yeah, thanks for joining us today. I will reach out to you directly via email, David, to get your mailing address. So I will be in touch with you after we wrap this webinar up here today. And we do have, if you have any questions for Kyle, definitely feel free to drop those in. If we don't get to answer them here live, then I will send those over to Kyle and we can address those offline. I did have one good question that came in I'd like to get to real quick live while we're still got you on the air, Kyle. Questions coming in from Eric, and Eric is asking why you don't include the vehicle costs into operating costs.
So your vehicle costs will be on your balance sheet, and they will show up on the balance sheet as either an asset and a liability, and or a liability if they're So when you have those vehicle payments, they normally do not show up on your P&L because they're on your balance sheet. And it's just the way everything is set up in the business. So you can do your depreciation and things like that. It's not because we don't want them to show up in there. It's just that a lot of CPAs, they normally are I've not met a CPA yet that, and nothing against CPAs, but they're, you know, they're not good at teaching contractors how to understand their numbers. They're great at doing taxes and saving us money on taxes, but that they're on your balance sheet, so they normally don't show up on the P&L under their accrual basis.
Gotcha. Awesome. Hope that answers your question, Eric. Thanks for sending that in. So I know that we're running a little bit past the top of the hour. I think that was a lot of awesome, great information that you shared with us, Kyle. Definitely appreciate all your time and efforts in putting that together for us. Do you have any closing words before we wrap things up today?
No, Kelly, just I guess, Kelly, thank you very much for having me on here. And once again, I hope everybody found value in their time. And if you can take a nugget away that's going to give you a better business, a better life, more freedom, then I've accomplished my mission today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, with that, that's all we have for today. We did record this session. I know there's a lot of great information, so I'll be sending out a link to that recording, as well as I'll include the email address for Kyle in that follow-up email as well. And as you close out of the session today, you're going to see a brief survey pop up. We'd love to get your feedback on today's session. If you are interested in learning more about Kyle's business coaching services or about LEAP, you can check off, there's a poll question there, so you can check that off as you're leaving today's session as well. And if you have any ideas or things that you'd love to hear about for future sessions, we are all ears. We'd love to hear what content would be of interest to you, so we can, bring some more topics that will be helpful to you in your business. So definitely appreciate it if you could take a moment to answer that as you log off today. And thanks again, Kyle, for being with us. And thanks everyone for your time and joining us on the webinar today. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Take care.